So we have good news. We've reached a deal. It's a good deal for everybody, I believe.
It's 15% tariffs across the board, all inclusive.
Trump calls it the biggest deal ever. The EU calls it damage control. A 15% tariff pact saved both sides from a trade war, but at what cost? Europe slashes car tariffs, promises $750 billion in US energy buys. Steel, aluminium and spirits? Still in limbo. Behind the smiles at Turnberry, a bruising showdown, and a deal no one fully
Thank you very
won.
much. So we have.
The United States and European Union pulled back from the brink of a full-scale trade war on July 27th, with President Donald Trump and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announcing a framework agreement that imposes 15% tariffs on most EU goods entering America. The deal, reached at Trump's Turnberry golf course in Scotland, cuts the threatened tariff rate in half and averts what could have been devastating economic consequences for both sides.
So we have good news. We've reached a deal. It's a good deal for everybody, I believe. And I think you were saying this is probably the biggest deal ever reached in any capacity, trade or beyond trade.
It is.
It's a giant deal with lots of countries.
It will bring stability. It will bring predictability. That's very important for our businesses on both sides of the Atlantic. It's 15% tariffs across the board, all inclusive.
Seated alongside von der Leyen, after an hour of intense negotiations, Trump declared victory. The president highlighted ambitious EU commitments, saying the bloc would purchase $750 billion worth of energy from the United States.
So we're going to do the following. The European Union is going to agree to purchase from the United States $750 billion worth of energy. $750 billion worth of energy. They are going to agree to invest into the United States $600 billion more than they're investing already. So they're investing a large amount of money. You know what that amount of money is. It's very substantial, but they're going to invest an additional $600 billion. They're agreeing to open up their countries to trade at zero tariff. So that's a very big factor. Opening up their countries, all of the countries will be opened up to trade with the United States at zero tariff. And they're agreeing to purchase a vast amount of military equipment. We don't know what that number is, but I'm going to let you say it, but I think it's the biggest deal ever made. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
For von der Leyen, the 15% baseline represented hard-fought damage control. When pressed by journalists about whether this constituted a good outcome for European businesses, she was candid about the constraints she faced.
15% is not to be underestimated, but it is the best we could get. It's overall across the board. Important was for us, it includes not only the cars, so go down with the tariffs for cars to 15%, but also all goods and semiconductor and pharma.
Von der Leyen described Trump as a tough negotiator, adding that the discussions were indeed very tough.
The investments Mr. President just described, that are going to go to the United States and the purchases over there. Indeed, basically the European market is open. It's 450 million people. So it's a good deal. It's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It was tough negotiations. I knew it at the beginning, and it was indeed very tough, but we came to good conclusions for both sides. So again, congratulations and many thanks.
The agreement includes notable exemptions, with both sides agreeing to zero tariffs on aircraft parts, certain chemicals, generic drugs, and critical raw materials.
Today we have also agreed on a zero for zero tariffs on a number of strategic products. This includes all aircraft and component parts, certain chemicals, certain generics, semiconductor equipment, certain agricultural products, natural resources and critical raw materials. And we will keep working to add more products to this list.
However, steel and aluminium will continue facing 50% tariffs, while the contentious issue of spirits remains unresolved. Financial markets responded positively to news of the accord, with S&P 500 futures climbing 0.4% and the euro gaining ground against the dollar. According to Bloomberg, US equity futures rose as investors welcomed the averted trade war, though many questions about implementation remain unanswered. Chief economist Carsten Brzeski from ING offered a sobering assessment of the deal's economic implications.
In all honesty, 15% on almost all goods looks like a saving compromise for both sides. But when you look at the economics, and when you look where we sit at the start of the year, namely with hardly any tariffs, the European Union will clearly lose from this deal. The European Union will see the negative economic impact, even though at 15% tariff rates, this will not be the end for the European economy.
Brzeski was particularly concerned about sectors facing continued high tariffs.
Well, the fact that the steel and aluminium and also the fact that pharmaceutical are not included in this deal is clearly negative news for these sectors, for these industries, because it means that they will continue to face higher tariffs, higher costs, and clearly a more adverse effect on their businesses.
Across European capitals, the response reflected a mixture of relief and recognition that this represented the best possible outcome given the circumstances. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz welcomed the agreement.
With this agreement, a trade conflict has been averted that would have hit the export-oriented German economy hard. This applies in particular to the automotive industry, where the current tariffs will be almost halved from 27.5% to 15%. Here, in particular, the rapid reduction of tariffs is of the utmost importance. We have thus been able to safeguard our core interests, even if I would have certainly welcomed further easing of transatlantic trade.
According to DW, Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni called the trade deal positive, while noting the need to examine details carefully.
I consider it positive that there is an agreement, but if I don't see the details, I'm not able to judge it in the best way. We are ready to activate support measures at the national level, but we ask that they also be activated at the European level for sectors that will be particularly affected by U.S. tariff measures.
Italy, as one of Europe's biggest exporters to the US with a trade surplus exceeding 40 billion euros, had significant stakes in the negotiations. Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin hailed the agreement as protection for many jobs in his country, though he acknowledged the challenges ahead.
It brings clarity and predictability to the trading relationship between the EU and the US, the biggest in the world. That is good for businesses, investors, and consumers. It will help protect many jobs in Ireland.
Dutch Prime Minister Dick Schoof struck a pragmatic tone, noting that
no tariffs would have been better, but this agreement provides more clarity for our businesses and brings more market stability. Important now to work out the details as quickly as possible.
with the Netherlands exporting over 50 billion euros worth of goods annually to the United States, the stakes were particularly high for the open Dutch economy. The agreement, while averting an immediate crisis, leaves many European leaders focused on implementation details and the longer-term challenge of building a more competitive European economy less dependent on volatile trade relationships.